Hello everyone! We ended our Hollow Fall adventure with trying to defend against another Nerubian assault. Ferin, Illyria, and player climbed the ladder to the ship, only to see Anduin has been left behind. Maybe some part of him thought that imitating his father, do what he would have done, that would be enough for the light to shine on him again. But the light didn't come. Instead, he is dragged away by the Nerubians of Azj-Kahet. We try to go after him, but you don't just fly in without getting captured in a web. We would have been spider food, was it not for Orwenia, a mysterious protector with an even more mysterious background. She is a Harronir, which is a brand new race, and she's not alone either. There are more of her kind here, part of a pod, they describe it, and they live by strict rules. Oaths taken, which prevent them from interfering, yet our Orwenia can see that times are changing. The Nerubians are gathering the blood of the fallen old gods, which is proof of that, and the roots that they guard are threatened. Roots connected to a world tree, potentially a Lun Ahir, which we learn about in a book added with the Emerald Dream patch. In this book, we read about the Titan Eonar planting the branch of Harronir, a gift from the goddess Alun, in the hopes that the influence of life would drive the darkness away. The branch swiftly grew into a tree, its roots extending deep below the surface. Eonar smiled, for everywhere the roots stretched, new life emerged. She called the tree a Lun Ahir, in honor of her great love, but Amansul found out about this, saw it as uncontrollable chaos, and he ripped the tree out. Eonar wept bitter tears that rained down upon the resulting crater. But as she peered down upon the sundered earth, the Titan realized a truth she did not share with the High Father. Though he had destroyed the tree, its winding roots still held firm beneath the soil, hidden from Amantul's gaze. As the forces of the Titans waged war against the Black Empire, Eonar bid her keeper Freya to watch over the crater and nurture the life that had blossomed there. Below ground, the roots fed upon the tears of Eonar and grew strong. The war was long, but in the end the Titans claimed their victory, and Eonar was pleased, knowing Alun's legacy would endure. It is said that much later, as the world entered a new age, mysterious guardians arrived who dedicated their lives to protecting the roots. But that is a tale for another time. Perhaps that is the tale of the Harronir. Perhaps the parallel is that up above we saw the Dark Trolls make the way to the Well of Eternity, who then evolved into the Night Elves. Down below, perhaps the Dark Trolls, perhaps something else, they found a way to the tree. They found a way to the tears of Eonar, and they would evolve into the Harronir, but time is going to tell. To be revealed, as right now we don't do a lot of questing with them quite yet. I'm hopeful that they are going to become an allied race in the future. We do clear the way, we fight against the Nerubians, and we try to find any kind of sign that Anduin is still alive. We don't find a body, so Illyria pulls a Windrunner and blasts us into the sky, while we party with Orwenia a bit, deal with the Nerubians, stop their blood-gathering activities, to then be confronted by the rest of her people. They begrudgingly accept this new direction and depart for now, but not before warning her that there will be consequences for all of them for what she has done. Her people do not think that this black blood is a threat to our worlds. It is sat here dormant for ages after all. Why should that change now? But the world is changing. Zalatov is making sure of that, whispering in the ears of Queen Ansurek, daughter of Queen Neferus, who seems to have only died recently, and the queen likes what she is saying. Power is offered, the next step in the evolution, which the daughter offers to those that she deems worthy. Yet not everyone in Suramar, in the city of threats, is down with this new way of life. Down below, we find the old kingdom of Arakara, as the Nerubians constantly build new layers upon their old empires, and the higher you are, the better your standing in society. Kikatal the Harvester tells us that once, their people thrived under the guidance of the Black Empire. Queen Neferus refused to reclaim that glory, but no more. Ansurek and the Black Blood will usher in a new age for Azj-Kahet. The days of the Black Empire, that is where life began for the Nerubians, because that is the origin of the Nerubians. Akir, under the influence of different old gods, they will follow different evolutionary paths, kinda like offering an Eevee a different evolution stone. The Akir under Yashirash, they became the Mantids. The Akir with Kafun, they became the Karaji. And the Akir with Yogg-saron, they became the Nerubians. And we primarily delved with the ones that we found in Northrend, the ones that were led by the king Anduin, fought and lost in the War of the Spider, and were then resurrected by the Lich King. Turns out that Ansurek actually asked help from the Nerubians of Azj-Kahet, but they did not answer the call when the beacons were lit. They remained here, an offshoot kingdom of the Nerubian Empire. So we have those traditionalists that would like to go back to the days of the Black Empire. We got those willing to embrace this whole new step in evolution, join Team Zolotov, and then in the middle we find our allies. Starting with Widow Arachne, Mistress of Secrets. She served Queen Neferes dutifully, but she cannot follow her daughter, so she spins her web and she gets us to work. These Nerubians are all about touch and scent. They wouldn't be able to tell a goblin from a trog if it weren't for the smell, so their pheromones will allow us to get into places mostly unharmed, as long as the guards don't smell through our illusions. A tip lets us know that Zevkal has had a remarkable string of failures. Something's going on there, so we go investigate, reconnect with some of the people that were taken during the attack on Dalaran, and some of them a little bit later on. Even Flynn Fairwind gets to be part of the story again. We grab some intel, we grab his weapons. We figure out that Anub Azal, he's the one messing things up for Zevkal. Anub is part of the Old Guard, and Zevkal is an Ascended, pushing him out of his own military stronghold and collecting overcrawlers to boots. Overcrawlers are like surface dwellers, right? The old Nerubian is not happy with how things are changing. Not to mention that these Ascended, they lose their ability to produce pheromones by themselves. He's been providing his pheromones to Zevkal so far, but how are they supposed to take a Nerubian that can't even produce pheromones seriously? This simply won't do, and he is ready to be our ally. We get to save our friends, like Gaslow, disrupt operations, and get some blackmail material. After stealing the pheromones that the alchemist was making and liberating the prisoners, we return to base, where we've received an invite to meet up with the Vizier. Their allegiance and influence would pretty much seal our victory against Ansurek's horrid little shadow for good. But as it turns out, it wasn't just Executor Nisrek who sent the invites, it was actually our boy Anduin. His heroic actions impressed the Vizier so much that he simply had to redirect his prison transports. They've been chilling here. The human is quite learned for one of his age, as the Nerubian tells us. They whiled the time with discussion of history, economics, narrative fictions, and, of course, what virtues their two cultures have in common. Anduin's been healing compared to where he began, but there's still a lot of work to be done. He is still disconnected from the light and unsure about a whole lot of things, but the diplomat inside of him still shines through. So much so that he's willing to jump in front of Illyria's bow when she shows up. He also invited her to come, and she only sees the monsters that took Dalaran and Khadgar away. But Anduin sees that they're not all the same. Immediately we had some wonder if this is the real Anduin or if this is Zolotov in disguise. And while they can always apply that trope, it would devalue any character progression that they're giving him right now. As well as he does say very Anduish things. Such a vibrant people, such as any other we've encountered together over the decades. They deserve the same peace and protection that we seek for our own. Let us vow that when forced to fight, it will always be against the source of strife, never the victims of it. This city is as vibrant as Stormwind, and its people are as worthy of freeing from abuse as our own. We get to see this firsthand by exploring the City of Threats and see how its citizens live. Some things might come across as a bit odd, like the ancient tradition of a Nerubian bride killing her first husband, so that his love would be with her eternally. But, every society has its own customs and traditions, and we also see some familiar faces, like the Drogbar or the Niffen, while behaving too badly that will have them kick us out. Meanwhile, the Queen has all kinds of propaganda running, which we adjust to suit our own messages.
We will wipe out the invaders from above, no matter what it takes!
Are the old ones truly gone? Or do agents of the Void continue to manipulate us today?
The Zealots have pressed our borders with their airships. We must show them the venom of Azj-Kahet.
Queen Neferes boldly shielded our people against any threat we faced. Will Ansurek do the same?
Ascension, reserved only for the most loyal. The purest form of our evolution.
Purest form? Ask yourselves, do the Ascended appear...
Overcrawler! Invader!
Nerubian to you? Patrols! The Queen's word shall not be silenced. Up ahead, Queen Ansurek is ready to give her Ascendant speech on their Ascendance Day. We're actually sent into the City of Threats dungeon to defeat Izo the Grand Splicer and bring down their Transformatory, potentially rid Azj-Kahet of these abominations for good. We do kill the Grand Splicer, but I'm not sure if that means no more ascension or if we just stopped it in this place right here. Either way, one seriously sick piece of art can be found in the Transformatory room, which has already done a couple of rounds on Twitter and the internet with speculation running rampant on what this might mean. My stab in the dark is that this is depicting the days of the Black Empire, in which they used a similar device as we now have with the Dark Hearts to evolve the Akir, the old god creatures, into higher beings, into, for example, the Nerubians. In the past, we've had the description that the Akir evolved under the influence of. This might suggest that it was more specifically done with a relic, supported with where we find this piece of art, hung up in a place where they're doing the next stage of their evolution. But again, it's a stab in the dark. Back to Ascension Day. Our mission is to stay in the shadows, observe and figure out how to win the heart of the people. But when Xal'atath shows up, Illyria loses all control and lets loose her arrow, hitting nothing but an incorporeal body. What happens in Dalaran must be extreme, considering how much she blames herself. And in Hollowfall, we already heard her talk about how she was holding back her powers in the Void, and that had her lose a good friend over it. Not to mention that the Void is still whispering to her, maybe even more so now that she's gone deeper in. Now, after fighting her way out of the city, we have no choice but to jump, and then another cutscene plays. With an army of Nerubian soldiers closing in, our hero's only hope for escape is to jump from this city's edge into the waters down below. Anduin and the player jump first, but Illyria hesitates when Xal'atath shows herself. Xal'atath attempts to convince Illyria to embrace the dark path. Illyria hesitates for a moment, but quickly rejects, escaping off the cliffside into the waters with the others. The darkness is clearly calling to her, and I honestly think that the corruption of Illyria is part of Xal'atath's true goals. While she's throwing all kinds of plans at us, all kinds of threats to deal with, and dangers to overcome, she's also whispering to Illyria, the one who caused such unwanted devastation at the Sunwell, which was never her intention. But what would happen if she does show up with the intent to corrupt and destroy? Future talk, of course. For now, we have Anduin back on our side, and we're knee-deep in gathering power to overthrow the current queen of the Nerubians of Azj-Kahet. The parallels are quickly drawn to the story of Suramar back in Legion, but I really like the story of Suramar, so I'm not exactly complaining. Beyond that, we've been given plenty of hooks for future stories and adventures. The Goblins have mentioned Undermine, the Goblin capital which was robbed from us during Battle for Azeroth. The Harronir seems to be connection to the domain of life through the roots of the world tree Alun Ahir. The Arathi have an empire somewhere with an emperor seeing visions behind the storms, potentially the other side of Azeroth. That mentions the All-Devouring and Karesh, homeworld of the Ethereals, have been put on the table, which also opens up the Great Dark Beyond, which is basically Warcraft space. And who knows where else the story is going to take us. But for now, you're up to speed on the main story of Azj-Kahet. So much more to be discussed, especially when the campaign into the raid opens up. But for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed this one. And until next time. See ya!